Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It's fantastic to have you here. Today is day 3 of working on our Pirate's Cutlass. It's gonna be a great day. We have some issues that we need to overcome, as you will have seen on part 2 yesterday. Let's get straight to it. We overcooked it. It got too hot. It got too hot, and it fell apart. Snapped right off.
Yep. Just the end though.
It's never fun when you have mistakes like this. Now, what's funny is that we decided that we weren't gonna do an accordion cut because we thought we wouldn't have enough material. And now, after all that work, after all the machining, after all the cutting and the welding, we now have the same material that we had when we were about to do an accordion cut. So, it's, you know, we just gotta make sure we can weld it. I don't know if we can weld it. We just gotta make sure it doesn't fall apart, and that we can weld it, and we're good. It's just that it might be a little smaller of a sword than we wanted. We've got a serious problem here. You know, obviously that thing fell off the end, so we lost a lot of mass on the end. It looks like there are cold shuts where it hasn't welded. We'd have to do this anyway, even if it was going well. Now that we've forged it out into a little bit of a blank, we're now gonna let it cool down. We're gonna grind it, etch it, and grind out where all the welds were, where all the MIG welds were. That's also gonna give us an opportunity to see if it's just something we can grind out, or if it's a problem the whole way through. This might end up being a substantially smaller sword. It might just end up being like a medium-sized knife. So we'll see how this goes. He did it. He got all the welds out of there. This is still a little crusty, but you know, hey, it's not the end of the world, is it? It might just be a little bit of a smaller sword. You still think we can get a 25-inch sword out of there?
I think we can pull a 25-incher out of this, yeah.
Okay. Well, what do we do now?
Now, back in the forge.
It's time to forge a sword.
It's time to forge a sword. We're gonna have more than enough steel.
You reckon we can do it?
Gonna do it.
That's what we want. Woo! Woo! It's all hand hammer from here on out.
Yes, sir.
sword is forged. It's looking fantastic. The bevels are beautifully roughed in, but we need to start making some tweaks. Now it's cool, and we've looked at it. Will, what do we need to do differently?
So, right now, we have a couple problems. Mainly, the tang is kind of bent this way, which gives it a little bit of a banana shape, which we do not want. Secondly, we looked at a little bit more pictures, did a little bit more redesigning, and we're gonna straighten this out a little bit more, so it's pretty much dang near straight all the way until the very tip, when there's a little bit of an upsweep. So we're gonna just take a little heat, straighten this out, and then get to grinding.
Tell you what, it's pretty awesome seeing Will grind this. He has a lot more experience making knives than I do, and he is doing an awesome job. Let's have a look, Will. How is it looking?
It is looking pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Just roughed in the bevels so far. They're gonna get a little bit cleaner before we, finish it all off. But I have been using this little 2x48 with one ceramic belt. Did a lot of profiling and a lot of bevel grinding. Took off a lot of meat of this bad boy. It's running on a 1.5-horse motor, same thing that my KMG runs on, but it's just powering through it because it's a smaller belt. It runs and it's not getting bogged down. I've been very impressed with it compared to my 2x72.
So what's the plan now, Will?
Now, since we've got it pretty much where we want it for heat treat, we're actually gonna clean up the tang a little bit, clean up the shoulders, and then we're gonna go in, heat it up, quench it, temper it, and then finish it out.
Exciting stuff. This is so good.
Yeah, came out very, very straight. A nice heat treat line. We got a soft spine with a hard edge. Let's make sure this is a hard edge.
Oh, look at that warp. That's a serious warp.
Oh!
It's like we got a soft blade. That seems soft as butter. Will, am I correct to assume that that means that we need to harden that again? At least that means that you could have an opportunity to straighten it, right?
Yep. Got a little bit of warp in the tang, or the tang.
It's right about there.
A little bit off. But we'll be able to fix that. Ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have seen me make some serious mistakes in this workshop. 3 days? I don't think you've seen me lose 3 days. Will, let's have a look at the blade.
Oh, God.
It looks great. Hang on a sec. It looks beautiful here.
Woo!
It looks absolutely stunning. Let's look down the edge. This is the edge. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about as bad as a warp can get. The reason for it, we know exactly why it happened.
Yep.
As we're working with the torch, the first time, it stayed straight the first time.
It did stay straight.
Like, there was a little bit of warp here that was easily gonna be fixed, but it stayed pretty straight. And one of the things that we mentioned as we were doing it is like, okay, yeah, let's flip it regularly. Second time for the heat treat, we did not flip it regularly.
The thermal cycle. We did a thermal cycle, because after the first heat treat, we wanted to relieve the stress with a thermal cycle, a normalization cycle. So you heat it up and let it cool down. And during the cooling, or during the heating, at some point, it turned into a snake. 6 days down the drain problem.
It's only 10:30 in the evening.
It is.
We could probably make a billet of Damascus and forge a sword in 3 hours.
Definitely, maybe.
I think we should do this. So as I hammered away at the power hammer and continued forging this billet of Damascus steel, Will took it upon himself to try and straighten out the blade. It was very warped, but he kept going. He spent a lot of time on it, and
voila, a relatively bacon-free blade.
wait, a relatively what?
Bacon-free blade, you know, bacon warp, right? The edge looks like a piece of bacon, you know, when you fry it and it goes...
It's straight-ish.
Ish.
Straight-ish.
It'll grind out.
You think we can continue with this?
I think we can finish this blade and make it a pretty cool project.
So you say keep cracking on with this tomorrow?
Hopefully no cracks, but yes, we're gonna continue.
Oh, cracks.
Nah.
It's funny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm absolutely exhausted. But we're going to be continuing on with this sword tomorrow. This has been a very odd order of things to go from having it break, to then fixing it, to then drawing it into the most beautiful sword that was then ground fantastically, and then going into a heat treat, getting a perfectly straight hardening, but it wasn't quite hard enough, so we went back into the heat treat, and here we are after it warped in that heat treat. And it has just been an ordeal. But tomorrow, on what's it going to be tomorrow? Part 4? Part 4 of making this, we're going to be we're going to be heat treating this sword. We're going to be making the pommel, making the guard. It's going to be fantastic, and I look forward to seeing you then when I'm not exhausted. Bye-bye.